Andrew Weissman has slithered out of his dark hole to comment on what he thinks the American justice system should do and how they should behave in the next few months leading up to the election. Andrew Weissman pens a op-ed suggesting that the DOJ basically not do their job. He doesn't want anything more than a letter to come out before the 2016 election. And why would that be? Why is Andrew Weissman all of a sudden crawling back out of his hole? Everyone knows that he was one of Mueller's hand-picked henchmen, and he prosecuted the impeachment all the way through, regardless of his shady past. But there's a real reason why he's penning op-eds to the Justice Department, and I'll show you. You see, on March 1st of 2019, Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows penned a letter to Bill Barr, and it was about a strip of testimony that had been classified, a conversation between Bruce Ohr and John Ratcliffe. They were writing Bill Barr, asking him to declassify that part of the conversation, and he did. And so now we can see why they wanted it declassified. Ohr testified that from August 16th through November 17th, months after the special counsel's investigation began, Steele delivered anti-Trump information directly to Ohr. Ohr also received anti-Trump political opposition research from the head of Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, and Ohr's wife, Nellie, a contractor with Fusion GPS. Ohr passed this information on to the FBI and informed them about their sources' biases, including Steele's disdain for Trump. And then John Ratcliffe asks, who at the Department of Justice and the FBI did you inform of Steele's biases? Because Bruce Ohr is falling over himself, saying, I did pass along the information, but I told them my wife worked for Fusion GPS, and I told them that it was opposition research, and it was given to me by somebody who hated Trump. I told them all. And so they say, well, who did you tell? And he says, Strzok and Page, there's no surprise there. And then he says, Weissman, Ahmad, and Schwartz. Side note, Ahmad was another of Mueller's henchmen. And so that's two of them that knew ahead of time that the Steele Dossier and henceforth the Mueller investigation was bunk. He goes on to say that he conveyed the substance of the FBI conversations to Weissman. So, to recap, when Bruce Ohr first handed over the Steele Dossier to the Department of Justice and FBI, Weissman was the one who received it and was told by Bruce Ohr that it was opposition research, that it was not trustworthy, and of course he didn't mention that it was given to him by somebody who vehemently hated Trump. Weissman then turned the Steele Dossier over, proceeded with the case anyways, joined the Mueller team to try and cover his own arse by prosecuting Donald Trump. So, forgive me if I don't read your op-ed, Mr. Weissman. I hope you get disbarred. Or were you hoping I forgot July 22nd, 2019, when I read in The Hill how you had offered a plea bargain to somebody in exchange for dirt, and that person was saying you were even coercing them into lying? The ink was still drying on special counsel Robert Mueller's appointment papers when his chief deputy, the famously aggressive and occasionally controversial prosecutor Andrew Weissman, made a bold but secret overture in early June 2017. Weissman quietly reached out to American lawyers for Ukrainian oligarch Dmitry Firtash with a tempting offer. Give us some dirt on Donald Trump in the Russia case, and Team Mueller might make his 2014 U.S. criminal charges go away. At the time, pressure was building inside the DOJ and the FBI to find smoking gun evidence against Trump and the Russia case because the Steele Dossier, upon which the early surveillance warrants were based, was turning out to be an uncorroborated mess. Truth? So here they're talking about Weissman's offer, and this is what the legal defense team for this guy, Firtash, was saying. To some, the offer smacked of being desperately premature. Mueller was appointed just 2 weeks earlier, did not even have a full staff selected, and was still getting up to speed on the details of the investigation. So why rush to make a deal with the prosecution team was still being selected, some wondered. Second, Weissman's approach was audaciously aggressive, even for a prosecutor of his reputation. According to a defense memo recounting Weissman's contacts, the prosecutor claimed the Mueller team could, quote, resolve the Firtash case in Chicago, and neither the DOJ nor the Chicago U.S. Attorney's Office could interfere or prevent a solution, including withdrawing all charges. The complete dropping of the proceedings was doubtless on the table, according to the defense memo. They said another one of the red flags for the defense team was that Weissman was too eager to share legal aspects with Firtash. For example, Firtash's legal team wrote that Weissman told them he believed a company called Bayrock, tied to a former FBI informant, Felix Sater, had made substantial investments with Donald Trump's companies, and that prosecutors were looking for dirt on Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Weissman told Firtash team he believes that Manafort and his people substantially coordinated their activities with Russians in order to win their work in Ukraine, according to the defense memos. And the Mueller deputy said he believed a Ukrainian group tied to Manafort was merely a front for illegal activities in Ukraine, and suggested a Russian Secret Service authority may have been involved in influencing the 2016 election. And Firtash turned that garbage plea down, and they say he's still awaiting extradition. And so Weissman makes this plea bargain, and Firtash says, no, I'm not making up stuff about Trump for you. And this is all in these defense memorandums. And we wonder why Weissman wants the DOJ not to release any charges before the election. I would bet Weissman doesn't want them to release their evidence ever. At the end of the day, it's utterly amazing, fantastical that a lawyer like this still has his license. More or less hasn't been brought up on charges. But he knows that there's some bad things coming. He just doesn't know who exactly they're coming for. And he's making these plays, i.e. these op-eds, just like Brennan does, just like Comey does, to try and usurp the DOJ's ability to release charges. He thinks that he's pinning Barr down and making it impossible for Barr to release findings in the Durham investigation unless he gets these horrible cries of election interference. But what he's really doing is signaling he knows he's guilty.